Okay, so welcome everyone. Once again, turn your videos on if you're okay, because I'm a very visual person. So I can read your faces better than I can listen, as in it's a combination. So it's going to make it that much easier for me to customize whatever we are doing here for you if I can see your faces and expressions. Um, so as an introduction for everyone who's here, so I'll just mention again, some of the people here are have been through the Career Alchemy online program. Some of you are registered in it currently in the self-paced mode. Some of you have been through the program and are reading the book. Very happy to see that. Some of you are just reading the book, and some of you don't have the book. And this is also if you're joining in the recording. So I was a little, frankly, I wanted to do this and have this interaction, but I've been sort of, running the wheels in my head all of today, trying to see how it can, based on the poll that you answered in the group, to see how I can customize this to cater to everyone who's there. So I have a bit of a structure and some thoughts. That said, about I think 15 minutes before the call, I just decided to also just, be easy and let it flow, which sort of means in some ways, I'm going to honor the people who've shown up live more than those who are going to be watching the recording, and allow you to also take it and co-create this with me, trusting that whatever we discuss, whatever we do, is actually contributes to everyone who's here. Um, yeah, that's the trust with which I'm going to go into the design of this. I do want to have some breakout activities also, because I don't want this. Otherwise, I could just have a YouTube live and, or a recorded video. So so the benefit for those who are coming in live, we will be doing a breakout activity. So I'll pause the recording there. So if you're watching the recording, you can also pause the recording there and then do whatever the breakout activity people are doing by yourself, and then continue to watch the recording. So I hope that way, it will be seamless for you, even if you're going to be here on the recording. Yeah. So I'm not going to introduce myself. So even if you're watching this and if you're watching the recording, if I get into the introduction of me or why I'm doing this work, I think it's going to just take up too much time. You should just scroll on this will be on YouTube, so somewhere else, and you'll find enough introductions. You'll also find introductions to the book. So I'm just going to get a copy of the book. 1 second. Just going to pause this. This is the book. It's called Career Alchemy. It's probably on a mirror image right now, but I will put a link to the book as well. And this is a book club meet. So the primary audience is for people who have, picked up a copy of the book, and the book has been written in a self-help format. And by self-help, I mean self-paced. Hello, Sandeep. So nice to see you after so long. Thank you for turning your video on.
Hi, Ramya.
Yeah. And so this is just a occasional connect apart from the book. These calls are not meant to be a substitute for the book, and they cannot be also. So let's just get that out of the way. But I'm hoping it was also going to contribute something to you. Should you ever never read the book, you will still get something out of it. Hello, Priya. Nice to have you on board in this call. And Pooja, yeah,
Big
lovely.
fan of yours.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so this book, just another clarification, because some of you are currently enrolled in the Career Alchemy self-paced program. How is the book different from the program? So what you'll notice is that the first 10 chapters of the book are based on the 10 modules in the Career Alchemy program. That said, the program with the video lessons are deeper. There are more examples, they are more intense. There are more exercises. which has its pros and cons. So if you're the kind of person who wants to, so the book is more condensed. That said, it's also been condensed in a way where there is the essentials and then there are follow-up which you can do. So, so the book has all the essentials, and if you're short of time, because you will need more time and patience, all of that to do the video program. So this book is, I think it's been created as an easier approach, right? And this entire inner work, by the way, happens in layers. So for example, pick up any chapter, like if we're looking at redefining success for ourselves, that also happens in layers, right? So the book is actually quite, it's easy to use, easy to follow, and that's the difference. The book has an additional 4 chapters, and which are, I think, very good, right? And I was just talking about some of the people on this call who have been part of the longer Career Alchemy interactive version of the program, the pilot program. So some of those chapters were introduced because of the questions and conversations that happened in those calls. So those are there. So there is also an additional 4 chapters. Okay, so I'm not going to go into, what each chapter is about. You should just read the book, or there is another introductory call, which you'll find on YouTube. It's called An Inner Sovereignty Approach to Career Alchemy. It's an introductory calls. Please watch that if you want to get an overview of the entire module. This week, we're going to focus not this week, this session, we'll just dive into one chapter. And the chapter that we're looking at thank you, Padma. So Padma just put a link about the author. Thank you. How nice. Okay, so we're looking at unpacking success and personalizing it. That's the chapter, okay? So again, for those of you who, this is an inner workbook, okay? So it's not, let me give you a 2-3 line summary of what inner work is. So inner work means we are working on our mental models, our conditioning, our belief systems, our mindsets, right? So it's actually like sculpting what's inside. So it is a workbook. So think of it as that's why it's like literally like you do art and craft outside, you're doing art and craft inside your brain. That's literally the format of the book. So it's not really a knowledge book, right? So it's not about understanding the brain, or it's not, the understanding part is there. So in some chapters, like, manage navigating the lizard brain, there is a bit of like, understanding but the understanding and the gyan or the knowledge are always there just to support or motivate us to do the inner work, right? So like me personally, when I learned the science of how the brain works, I got even more motivated to work on my brain. I was like, oh my God, right? I mean, if this is what emotions are doing to me, I better manage my emotions. If this is what mental models are doing, I better manage, right? So the science and the understanding, so again, which you'll find in the book, it's always been given. That's a supporting cast, okay? So the main meat is really the exercises, the work that you will have to do. So I cannot, like, even if you attend thousands of calls and hear me speak, you won't get the benefit of what you can get if you do the exercises. So just getting that also out of the way, okay? Because sometimes it can be like, very easy to, okay, fine, I like to listen, I like to learn, great, but you want the magic. So a lot of people, by the way, I've been getting a lot of pushback from people calling alchemy. Like, oh, everyone, what is this? You're teaching magic. What is this alchemy? Why did you call it alchemy? I've got like so much criticism on the title, right? But I'm happy with it because I truly believe that inner work can be magical. Magical means what? Like, it's like, wow, it's really changed. It's really transformed. And to get those magical results, you have to do the work. That's why it's an inner workbook, okay? All of you are also there on the WhatsApp group. Hopefully, I'll keep giving nudges and motivating you to do the inner work as you read the books. Okay, on that note, let us... so Avantika said Kindle edition. So there isn't a Kindle edition, but there is an ebooks, Google Books edition. And I'll put the link for that on the group later on.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, so let's start with We'll do a little bit of warm up, maybe we're not a very large group, we're 15 of us, 14 of us. We'll do a little bit of interaction and warm up here as a larger group and then get into breakout groups, okay? So as a larger discussion and warm up, let's look at, okay, what is success, right? So success at the end of the day is just a word. So if you wake up or call, as soon as a newborn baby is born or something, like, what is success? The baby's like, oh, what is it? Like, it's nothing, right? So it's constructed. So as we grow up, we start creating associations and meanings with this word called success. Now, one of the things that you will see me do, and I do this because it helps me, and I feel it helps my students also, is sometimes instead of referring to you as you, I'll say your brain. Or referring to me as me, I'll say my brain, okay? What this does is it just allows us to be a little impersonal about it and say, oh my God, like it's not me. It just helps us create that little bit of space, okay? And detachment in a way, and then we can do this inner work later. So now I'm going to say your brain, my brain. Ever since our brains have been 2-year-old brain, 3-year-old brain, 4-year-old brain, I don't know. It has started getting conditioned, and our brains have been listening like sponges to people around us, throwing the word success. Sometimes in a movie, sometimes in a book, sometimes our parents, sometimes we've just overheard, visitors have come home and they're talking, the adults are talking, we're playing with our toys, but our brain is listening. This is success, okay? This is success. And it's been creating this meaning of success. And then, of course, sometimes somebody has sat us down and told us this is success. So it's both conscious and unintentional subconscious, our brain has been picking up. So let's take a little bit of, and again, like I told you, these calls are going to be, think of them as icebreakers, starters that we can do with collective energy. You will have to do the customized versions of these, which are there in the book by yourself also, right? But now let's do this collective thing. Let's flood the chat window with some of the things, messages that our brains have heard growing up about what is success. They can be words, phrases, mantras, songs, lines from poems. Yeah. So, and we're not looking at whether it's true, false. It's just like what, yeah, being at the top. Devi says, yeah. And I'm not going to say who says because it doesn't matter, right? It's just been coming. So let me read out some of these. Being at the top, name, fame, and money. Oh, yes. My brain heard that one a lot. Achieving what you aim for. Yeah. Academic performance. Our family is snobbish about premium institutions. Oh, yes. Happiness, impactful. For my father, it was to make me a doctor. Yeah, sometimes it can be very specific, right? Tied to very specific professions, being able to handle conflicts well and not getting deeply impacted. Yeah. Is success for me? Yeah. So and we look at what success is for you. Right now, we're just seeing what has been fed into the brain. Okay. So getting a job and standing on your own feet, exceptional academic performance, equal to good job, equal to set for life. Oh, yes, I resonate with that one. Following a path which brought money, stability to someone in family or friends. Yes. So it can be that 2-step, right? Yeah. So our CVs, all marquee names, financial freedom, getting married and having a family is fed by the society as success. Oh, yes. Houses, cars, devices, and all that jazz. Oh, yes, jazz it is. Yeah. So we see, so all of this is coming, right? And now, just like the advertisers will advertise our brains, right? And they're doing it all the time. This is like the almost inadvertent advertising that has happened. And yes, like Preeti says, more of materialistic. Yeah, it depends on where you grew up, right? If any of you had grown up in an ashram, maybe those would have been a non-materialistic set of, or maybe you grew up in Auroville, then, you would still have your own very specific programmed version of success. The thing to recognize, step one is it's not the truth. It's a word with many definitions, many associations. None of it is good, bad, right, wrong. That's sort of just the easiest way to create detachment. The question we will ask rather than good, bad, right, wrong, because they don't really hold meaning because it's also subjective, is it, will it work for me at this stage in my life? So I'd asked some of you to, actually I'd asked everyone to, send in, put questions on the LinkedIn post, a call about this. And somebody had asked that question about, yes, can it change in your seasons? And absolutely. So what you will ask is really, right now, at your current age, at your current stage, is this association, is this definition useful for you or not? Yeah. Now, I'm just going to quote a line here, word here. We'll stop here. We'll come back to this a little more. But one of the things that got me very, very interested in inner work is so some of you know my story about where I started exploring the work relationship, and that's why I went to do a PhD in organizational behavior. But apart from OB, I was also searching everywhere, anyone talking about human beings and work. So one of the recommendations, again, that a lot of people are talking about is the Gita. So it's not really about religion, it's the Bhagavad Gita, but it was a philosophical text that talks about human beings' relationship with the work. So I, did my due diligence of I sort of, stalked the Gita for about 10 years and was trying to get whatever I could out of it. And one of the verses there are quite a few that have, sort of latched on and inspired me. But one of the things is there's a verse that says your own mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. That left a deep impact with me. So that is this inner work. I was like, oh, this can be my best friend, and I'm carrying it around with me. It's interpreting everything, everywhere for me. I want it on my side. I want it on my side. And so if this is not motivation for inner work, what is, right? So I continue on doing inner work with myself all the time because I want this to be my friend. I want it batting for me, but batting in what direction? Right? That's why I also want to define success. But here I'm saying, even for success, what's really going to work for me? See, now some of you could have got the loop that we've got into, but my brain has been hypnotized. My brain has been conditioned. Everyone's told me, and now I'm using that same brain to redefine success. Why will my brain not keep parroting the things that it has heard before, right? Which is why we have these inner work exercises. So which is why I started, experimenting with different things. And these have been tested on a lot of, unsuspecting and benefiting PGP students that I'm in Bangalore over the years. And I would see that some exercises are not working because then it's too much in the intellect. It's still going on. This is what I heard and this is what I say. This is what I heard. But with some exercises, some kinds of discussion, some kinds of, work, I realized that no, you can actually cut through that clutter and get at what really inspires me, right? The deeper values, the you, which is inside that conditioning. So chapter 3 really has those exercises. Now I know some of you might feel too many exercises. Well, the video course version had even more. I cut it down. But I've cut it down. So do those because, like I'm telling you, it's a little tricky space. So, which is why we can't do it in a call like this. You want to sit down quietly, get your cup of tea, do it over a couple of days. There are ways to trick the brain. Yeah. And how do I know that? Trial and error, trial and error. That's what doing it with people and seeing. In some exercises, I see that no. It's all just the conditioning that's speaking. But in some exercises, I see that, you're getting beyond that, right? So that's why you have to do those exercises. Okay. But what we will do in today's call is we will build up. We'll build up some energy and motivation, right? And we'll use this collective energy to say, okay, we'll start calling out some of the bullshits. And here, I know it's going to be very difficult for us to call out bullshits without having our preference in mind, because somebody will say success means drinking a lot of water.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, I'm calling that as bullshit. Who says, right? So basically just play along with me and we'll say for the time being, everything can be bullshit, right? So we are just going to poke holes at some of the things that have been pulling us down. And some of those things you will get right away. It's subjective. It's not, and there's no judgment here. But let me look at what's already in the chat. For example, getting married and having a family is fed by society as success, right? Now, for some of you, you might feel that I want to retain this as my definition of success. And someone might say, no, this is not working for me. And that is going to be a subjective call. But my request is that you make that call after you've done the inner work exercises. After you start looking at, give yourself permission to go inside to see what really lights you up and what really brings you alive through these exercises, right? So I put a page. So the LinkedIn post related to this, I put, I think, page 62 or something, where I had an example of my own current, dimensions of success. And by the way, this is again my recommendation, but it's a strong recommendation to define them as dimensions rather than destinations. The why for this, you will fully get in chapter 10, I think, or 11, the chapter on goal setting. Let me see, which is that? Chapter 10, using goals. Yeah. So when there you will fully get the complete logic, but some of you might get it right away on why, I want you to look at it as dimensions and directions rather than destinations. Okay. But so when I put that up, there was one of the comments that came on LinkedIn, one of the questions, and I think we can address that, was that, I don't know if she's here, Avantika, or yeah,
Yes, I'm here.
yeah, which is, wait, was it Avantika, was it someone else who said it gave, let me just open. Yeah, reading your current bullet points of your measures of success made me uncomfortable and insecure. Then I could read them with the background. And I know I feel that. I hear you completely, because when I was writing the book, I was like, really, do I want to put it out there? Because for the longest of time, I wasn't even, I mean, this is for self-consumption. You don't have to share it with people. But I decided to put it out there just to encourage people to say that, now a lot of you might read my dimensions of success as well. Weirdo, what I should put? What is this? Like, like who is she to think she can be an embodiment of light? Or how absurd is that? Or how weird? Whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter, because that is what will wake me up, what speaks to me, what holds meaning to me. So again, you don't have to. I really put myself out there in the book only because I'm giving people, like, my mission is to encourage people right through that. So you don't have to be that vulnerable, and you don't have to tell even your husband, wife, sister, mother, unless they will understand that this is it. It's only for you, right? You can create it for yourself. If you want to share, you can. So that's going to be your choice. So what we will do now is we will get into groups. I will put you into breakout groups, and I want you to actually discuss. So what you do, a deeper version of what we just did on the chat, right? So actually share that, these were the things that my brain has been inundated with. And right at the start, even start looking at maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that, even without doing the inner work, you say that, I don't want to hold on to this anymore. This one I want to call the bluff one, because everything you can call a bluff one. Everything is a bluff, but this one I want to let go, right? So just discuss that, and we'll come back and we'll see some of the things that you want to let go of, right? Okay. So I will, so you will be about 3 people in a room. Maybe there'll be a 4 somewhere. We'll see. Okay. If somebody doesn't join, I will try and reallocate, but we'll just take a gamble here. Okay. And I'll put you for 12 minutes in the breakout room. So if you're 3 people, you'll be able to speak for like, yeah.
Ramya, I
Yeah.
might need to leave.
Okay.
Please don't put me in any pod right
I
now.
will not put you in any pod.
Okay.
So anyone else also who doesn't want to be, just let me know. And or you don't join because Zoom lets you join. Just don't join and I will know and I will put someone else. Trust me, the breakout room might be the most useful thing of this session. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see how I do this. It's not showing me this. Yeah.
I hate the thought of missing it, but I wouldn't want to join and then abruptly leave.
No, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Again, if you have to leave, don't join the room and I will know from here who's not joined and we can
Being happy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Our first participant in our room number 1, Avantika, mentioned.
Yeah, just a request. Maybe what happens in the pods, don't give a big picture overview, but don't quote people.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. So, which I will. So, whatever stays in the pod stays in the pod. The idea of creating breakout rooms is to also to give you that, safe space where in a smaller group you can discuss. It's not being recorded. So, when you come back, maybe you can share about yourself, but don't quote from anyone else in the group.
Sure. So our first participant mentioned that being happy 70 to 80% of the time, because you can't be happy all the 100% of the time. If that happens in life, that means uh, one is succeeding in life. And also here the expectations to keep in limit. Uh, so what what it means is like the normal parameters of the success, like owning a car, owning a house, having a big title. Uh, no, if we keep all those things in expectation as to what is actually needed, rather than having just huge expectations. So, for example, a Wi-Fi of 100 Mbps is a requirement, but a car is not the requirement. So here satisfaction, if one gets from whatever one is aspiring for, if that gets satisfied, that is the parameter of success.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think, thank you, Tarunji, and I'm going to use this as an example to actually, explain something else to everyone. And it's not explain, it's actually suggest. So if you see the chapter of the title, it has two parts to it, right? So one is where you are unpacking, or you can call it decoupling, offloading, unpacking, right? And then you are personalizing success for yourself. And if you actually read the book, which I think 3, 4 of you have read the chapter, you'll see at the end of it, there's something called reinforcing that new definition. So I'm just going to briefly take you through the logic of these 3 stages and invite you to take that journey. So if you see this breakout room, because, we very badly, we want to create our own philosophies of success, that success should be about needs versus wants, or it should be this, or it should be that. And we're most welcome to do that, because that is what personalizing success is. I want you to do that. I really want you to do that. But I don't want you to do that now. Because if you're doing that now, फिर ये book खरीदा क्यों है आपने? Okay. So before you do the personalization of success, I want you to do the unpacking. And that unpacking is going to happen in stages. So if the front part of the chapter, it has these exercises on decoupling ourselves from our stakeholders and, what in different stages. So the first part is, so what one of the prompts I gave you all, that's why in the discussion was not to create a new definition right away, but to just say, chhodna kya hai? What is it that even right away you can say that I don't want this. So think of it as the step 1 is, I don't want this, I don't want this, or this is not me, this is not me, this is not the truth, this is not the truth. My brain, I always thought this is the truth, but this is all not the truth. So after that first stage, you'll actually be very confused. You're like, what is the truth? And maybe there is no truth then. That's when you say, oh, but I can create my own thing. But by then you've created space in your brain. When your brain is not clinging on to the old definition, now you can create the new definition, and then you don't have to justify that to anyone. That is your choice, right? So that somebody might say 70% of the time I want to be happy. Somebody might say 99%. Somebody might say hedonic happiness. Somebody might say eudaimonic happiness. Somebody might say मुझे happiness ही नहीं चाहिए, मुझे only meaning चाहिए. Like, and everything is fine. That is, but you have got that clarity by then. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to take that in steps, and then don't stop there. Reinforcing. Because remember, the brain was working as an enemy. If you want to make it as a friend, if I have to constantly be walking around with my 5 definitions of success, it's going to be too much work. It doesn't work like that. I want to now internalize this to a new place. So it's like I'm sort of reprogramming my brain to work in the way I want it to do. Okay? Lovely. Let's hear someone else's experience. Again, you can share experience, reflections, thoughts.
So in our group, myself, we discussed about different stages of life, and what we came back with is that in our earlier life, we were like, it is all
Earlier
about
life, as in past life, or
younger self,
when you were
younger self, younger self. Yeah. So career and professional development was success, and then in midlife, it was more about the personal and family life that gave us the happiness. And now it is more on that what impact that we can bring from our work. In summary, that is the essence that we discussed.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Anyone else wants to share?
Hi, I'll share for our pod. I think what we discussed overall is what success means to us at this point of time, and how we have been fed possibly in terms of saying, let's say we would want financial freedom and then some other thing, etc., etc. I think coming out of the session, I was telling Padma was part of the pod as well. Sorry to name her, but I actually eventually came out of it being fed also by one more thing. But I think pretty clear that ways. I think this was very good and very helpful to at least understand on. And I think, as you said it very rightly, it's an exercise which will take a while to really unpack what all, because at this moment, thinking under 3-4 minutes, I think 2-3 things came at the top of the head, right? But when you think over time, there are going to be tons of other things which would be there in the subconscious as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Right. You're right, Pooja. Absolutely. Even the unpacking is going to be a journey. And that's why there are exercises and prompts to help you do that systematically. Have you heard from all the pods, or is one pod left? I mean, no compulsion to share if someone wants to
So
share.
in our pod, we talked about, the little bit like untangling from the stakeholders in a way, because we are parents. That's one stakeholder. We have our office, or let's say the career part, and we have expectation there too. We have other society and other stuff which is also expecting something from us. But we all talked about something which is basically we don't care about this anymore at this stage. We care about our success, and we talked about something specific, but probably it's a little too deep for this. But in general, we talked about different stakeholders and how not to think too much about them.
Absolutely, right. And again, that's a choice again, right? So so there's a section in the book which is on decoupling ourselves from stakeholders. Now, again, there is no judgment that you have to not think about them, right? If you want to say so and so stakeholder, that can come. But once you decouple, then if you want to go back to a stakeholder, you can do it. You can do it, but you're doing it very intentionally. You're doing it very mindfully. You know, this is my choice in my adult life, right? And there in the book, there's one more stage which which should also pay attention to. These stakeholders are not just from our past, but also current, right? Each one of you will be living, some of you maybe with your spouses or children or other people. And many of your goals are going to become intertwined. Many of what you want, and success is actually your definition of success is going to impact these other people. So there is going to be this constant real time, day to day, the live stakeholders. So there is a section on how to deal with that also. So that is also something that you want to be mindful of. So how to navigate that and how to work with that. So one of the tools there that I share is called an interesting point of view tool. If you've been in my previous sessions, you would know it. Again, it's there in the book. I'm not going to do the entire tool now. You can, if you don't have the book yet, you can even Google it. Just Google interesting point of view. It's a tool from Access Consciousness. It's one of the ways in which you can create space with current stakeholders, even past stakeholders, frankly. Yeah, lovely. So one more last thing that, I want to emphasize before we close is some of you might be wondering why success, if it's just a word and a label, why not just ditch it? Why have that second stage of personalizing it also, right? So here again, I've just come from my own experience. One of the people whose work, philosophy and all I've learned a lot from guided is J. Krishnamurti. And in a lot of the Krishnamurti circles and places, there's a lot of, there's a lot of emphasis on leaving behind these labels and not holding much meaning, right? So at one stage I was like, yeah, success is just a label. I'm going to operate without it. Success is nothing. Like there's nothing. I don't want it. I mean, does a flower grow? Think it's being successful, and I'm just going to operate without this label. And I did a fairly good job of deconditioning myself. But then I realized that it wasn't sustainable. Maybe because I live in a business school and interact with people who use a lot of success, but in my profession, in my life, in my world, because I might have done that work of deprogramming and emptying out my brain also and made this resolve. But then, see, my brain is still a vulnerable, programmable device, right? That's why it picks up advertisements. So I'm still living in a society where people are going on using the word success. And again, it's getting really confused. And especially, and you'll see this in a later chapter, in your reptilian brain, FOMO, you're feeling or very insecure and you're not in your strongest time. And that time somebody says, I think you want success. You're like, oh, really? What's that? And the brain starts believing that. So I realized that was not, in physics, you have this like stable equilibrium and unstable equilibrium. It's a very unstable state. So I was like, okay, let's put something in. So there's this deconditioning and there's this freedom that you get, the space that you create. You take out all the garbage, or if you don't like the word garbage, all the programming that you've decided is not serving you, you take it out, and then you don't sort of leave it empty. You are putting something back, but this time it's of choice. That really worked, because now then other people here, even like day to day, my husband's telling me, you have to publish research papers, or somebody saying that. I have an anchor. I have something to come back to. And I'm fairly confident. I don't fall that much into self-doubt, right? Because my brain is like, no, I've done this. I've thought through this. I've thought through all of that. And I've said, this is what it is. This is what I'm coming back to. So it's like your safe space. It's your happy place, your confident place. Your brain feels good with that anchor. So that's this whole idea of the reinforcement. And it just gets better, okay? It just gets better and better. You can grow it. Okay, so I hope that's given everyone some good motivation.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramya. And I found the Google book link already.
Okay, lovely. And I'll put it on the group also. Okay, so is this a good place to close today's call? Want to keep them this short and sweet. And yeah, we'll meet again maybe on another chapter. So I'm going to pause the recording and just ask